Sometimes we watch shows that are unpopular, and yet we still love them. That's the case I usually fall into, hence the nature of this channel. But unpopular opinions are a two-way street. You can also hate shows considered masterpieces. After having seen Shinsekai Yori, I definitely feel like it deserves to be put in this latter category. So to explain just how much I think it doesn't deserve attention, here's a video giving it exactly that. Spoilers ahead. The show starts off what I would consider strong. We have a cast of varied personalities, an interesting world, and a mystery behind said world. The mix of medievalish post-apocalypse and school shenanigans acts as a great contrast to get the characters introduced to their world and then realizing something might be wrong with it. Even the summer trip that Group 1 goes on was enjoyable to watch, despite it being where the series takes a sharp dive towards mediocrity with the world's most obvious and drawn-out exposition sequence.
Answer her question.
The word ogre refers to the Larman-Crogius syndrome. It is also commonly referred to as the fox in the henhouse syndrome. This condition plagued the late prehistoric era. While there are no present cases that have been documented, it appears to be that this may be in the past and likely to occur in the future.
Minus this one scene though, the whole summer trip had enough mystery and suspense to keep my interest peaked. If the show had simply ended there, or even continued with a similar theme, I wouldn't have thought twice about giving the show a strong 8. The first arc of the show is strong, but the same really can't be said about the rest of them, as you'll soon come to find. One time skip later, yes, this is going to be a recurring thing, and we have the kids starting high school, I think. I can't really remember. They all act like horny teenagers, but then there's another time skip where they're like 16 and that, so here they're like middle schoolers? Whatever. The main thing that stuck out about this part was Shun. Not only do they basically change the whole plot to revolve around this one character and how important he is, he's not very important, but they make him a yaoi magnet. In all seriousness, I'm sure this was supposed to represent something about the bonobos and how their society has been conditioned for love, but it felt forced and honestly just made me a little bit uncomfortable. Also, can we mention how Saki basically fell in love with Shun completely off camera? Yes, I know they sort of touched hands once and looked at some stars during summer camp, but if that's all it took, I'm pretty sure Satoru would have been in the running as well. So here we have the main problem with this arc, how shitty of a plot device Shun ends up being. One more time skip and one semi-forgotten character later, we have our next arc, which I can barely remember. Isn't that a good sign? Now, from what pieces I can put together, Shun is replaced with generic anime protagonist number 2, while the rest of the cast suddenly figures out he really hasn't been their friend this whole time. Mamoru, a character we basically learned nothing about except that he wants to bone Maria, suddenly runs away from home and the ever-shrinking gang has to go bring him back. Except they don't. And Maria chooses to leave forever with him. Man, the cast list is getting a bit short here, and don't get me wrong, that's probably for the best considering how well the characters were being developed, but it still leaves a little bit of an empty feeling. And hey, if that's what the show was going for, I'll give them an A+ there. I can appreciate a show that leaves you with negative emotions on purpose, which is one of the many reasons for appreciating School Days, but that's a story for another time. What I don't appreciate here, though, is how the story expects us to have deeply cared for the cannon fodder it let die. So far we have Shun, who to his credit at least had a whole arc about him, Maria, who I guess we at least knew was Saki's best friend, Mamoru, who might as well be a lost puppy for all it matters to the plot, and wait, we're off by one here. Group 1 was supposed to have 6 people. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention Riko, which I shit you not, I actually had to look up before writing this. A character so forgettable with so little screen time that I didn't even remember they existed. And this wouldn't even be a problem if they weren't mentioned at least once an arc. Eventually you start associating Saki remembering that one girl that disappeared that one summer with her, which I guess at least lets you know that she exists? But at what cost? At that point she's nothing besides a plot device. She might as well have not existed. It just makes you want to forget her. So what is this, the third time skip? Ugh. Anyways, this next jump is a big one, and now the main cast of 2 characters is all grown up, but they surprisingly still act exactly the same as they did as kids. Now, this is where the shit really starts to hit the fan for the plot, because it goes everywhere. The monster rats, which I've neglected to mention thus far because they simply weren't very important, are actually one of the most interesting things about the world. Yet the story waits until halfway through to start even developing any of their culture or motivations. So TLDR, they get pissed, they attack some humans, they steal Maria and the puppy's lost child, and raise it as a killing machine, and shenanigans ensue. The last remaining characters we even care about go to the Tokyo murder death tunnels to get something to kill the ogre. A bunch of ass-pulls happen, and best rat Kitamaru dies. But hey, the killing machine was stopped! Yay! This part of the story was just so drawn out and had so many Deus Ex Machina moments that it's not even surprising I could summarize it in just a few paragraphs. This part of the writing took 1/5 of the page space, but encompasses half of the entire story. So yeah. Needless to say, this part of the story was super drawn out and not really worth slogging through for the mediocre outcome to the series, which I've got to say was somehow even more of a letdown than the series itself. Yeah, let's just forgive and forget and basically give the audience no closure to the struggles the characters have faced the entire series. Let's make them perfect people who want nothing more than to fulfill the promise of Best Rat, save his clan, and have hope for the future. Bullshit. The struggles of the characters should have taught them to have anything but hope for their future. And in that way, the ending was not only unrealistic, but just unfulfilling to the viewer. Honestly, I'd give the series a solid meh. 6 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but it surely doesn't deserve all this praise I keep hearing for it. But hey, feel free to disagree with me, and I encourage you to down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.